This is a 1994 Jaguar XJS. Hello and welcome. This is Mark with the Cover Cats of Robertsdale, Alabama. We're currently doing the convertible top on this. There's not much literature on the internet for this, so I'm here to change all that. If you can find a small box, use it. Make a format and layout of the vehicle. These right here are for the headliner. These two right here are for these pieces, and they'll be oriented, and they're the only thing that's going to have to come off before the weather stripping or the gaskets come off for the windows. I will point out that these things go on a certain way. This is the part of the retainer in the front where that piece, that metallic piece right here connects to. You can see the profile. I'm going to use this pointer right here. See that profile right there at the very tip of this China marker? That profile sets in right there. Okay, so just to let you know, you're going to have to go ahead and take this off before you get these off. After you've gotten that off, there are 4 retainers on each side. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Place an arrow towards the front of the vehicle and mark it driver. Other side is the same way. We're working on removing the back pieces here. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. These will not have to be removed. After that, you're going to have to remove this right here with a drill. Drill that pop rivet out. It sleeves up into the old part of the sound deadener. Now, back in the day when these things were first built, they used horsehair, but they found out that the horsehair was starting to deteriorate. There's the horsehair. Okay, and here are some fibers of horsehair in here, and some foam padding, and some of the old material that is basically just deteriorated. Watch this. Okay, all right, so you're gonna have to fabricate your own sound deadener, because the sound deadener is no longer available on the internet anywhere. Okay, so when you do your headliner replacement, reverse engineer everything, as I have seen it said on the internet. Reverse engineer everything and you should be okay. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and peel this old sound deadener off and fabricate a new one out of black, I'm going to think of the word here in a minute, flat net. We're back. And a little amendment to this first and primary video that we had shot just a few seconds ago. I wanted to come over here and explain how these weather strips come out. They're only going to go back in one way. And when you do go to put them back in, I want you to get some Dawn dishwashing detergent. Now watch, 3 fingers. Dawn dishwashing detergent, and kind of slather up the back side of this so that it'll slip back in real easy. So 3 fingers and a thumb to the outside. Pull back and pinch. Pull back and pinch. All the way up. Then come back down to the bottom and pull down. When you go to put it back in, it's going to be nice and wet with dishwashing detergent. You're going to push it back up into there, and then you're going to guide this first and primary part in first, and then you're going to I'm sorry, the video was not pointing in the right direction. Okay, so the first and primary part, you're going to set that in there first, all the way down. Then you're going to come back up and grab all the way around to the frame. Then with your palm, you're going to set it down inside there, and it'll go right in if it's wet with dishwashing detergent. And it's just done. All that stuff will dry up and go away later on. This is residue from a some kind of lubricant that they had put on here when they first assembled the car. They don't like to play around with it. They like to go ahead and get it assembled as quickly as possible, so they slather these things up with some lubricant. Now I set those right in here. The one for the front is up here, and of course you can see I already marked this one passenger, and the arrow was facing towards the front of the car. When I mark this one right here, I'm going to mark it with an arrow up towards the sky. And this one is passenger. Once you've got those marked, you got your arrow towards the sky, remove your retainers, your screws, and install them over there on your little box. Okay, if you are the kind of person that bites your fingernails, now's a good time to quit. Because you're going to need those fingernails to take and get to the bottom side of that hat on that screw and extract it. You can see what I'm saying here. And that top one's going to be kind of hard to get to. I suppose I could lean the top back a little bit more, but for the demonstration purpose of this video, you have your 3 screws. You're going to take and pinch towards the outside, and of course you're already marked up on the thing here to show towards the sky and passenger side. Keep everything together as you place. You can use your screw gun to do it, or you can use your fingertips and screw them in. And that's what I do. I sometimes use my drill, sometimes use my fingertips and screw them in, because they got a pretty sharp point on them. And just screw them in. Alright, that is your format and layout. And I do it this way for a reason, because if I come back a month from now or get called off of this job and somebody else has to do it, then they know exactly where these screws go. This is why I do this. Next thing on the list, as I've mentioned before, you're going to have to drill these out. Best way to do it is go ahead and get that thing centered. Start slow. So I'm going to finish this up, but I have to put my hand up underneath it to catch the shavings. So we'll get this drilled out and show you what it's like when we're done. We're all drilled out. Do me a favor, save the hat, because the pop rivet that you put in here may not have the same size hat. You don't want to mar or bruise this material. Right here, it's very thin, so we want to go ahead and use a big collar on this pop rivet replacement. Sometimes the pop rivets that you go back with are not the same size, so I like saving hats of the pop rivet so that when we go back with the new, we'll have something to hold it. Now watch this. I'm pulling here, right here, and it's going all the way through. Watch that tail just duck out. Alright, after a little finessing, finally comes out. Alright, so what you're going to use is a hooked coat hanger. If you're going to reuse this right here, I don't recommend it, but if you're going to reuse this right here, go ahead and use a hooked coat hanger. Grab that little hole right there, thread it through the back side, let the hook of the coat hanger extend out, put this into it, and then feed it back through when you're ready to put it back together. Alright, next is going to be these little wings. Take note of how much slack is in it, because when you put this back on, and I'm going to tell you, the top needs to be in the closed position before you try to position these wings. You'll just see what I'm saying here. The reason you want your hand in there is to catch all these shavings along with the back side of that pop rivet, saving of course the hat of the pop rivet. Now all this right here, this is small, this is not strong enough to puncture a tire, so you can just cast that off to the ground. Alright, that's been freed, and of course same process over here. We're going to go ahead and take this and pull it through. I need both hands to do that because I had a little bit of a rough time on the other side, so I'll pull that through and tune back in. That has been pulled through. Sorry about all the sunlight. We're working with the early daylight morning sun. So right now it's kind of bright out here. All right, I feel the top starting to relax, so I'm going to have to start the car up and get to a point where I can get these flaps pulled off, and I'm probably going to have to use something and use both hands for that, so I'll have to set the camera down. Once I get that free, you can see what it looks like. Good news, I'm not going to have to use both hands. This is actually coming up pretty good. So we'll just continue prying, pulling it up. It's good adhesive. I should probably point that out. The header bow was actually a lot harder than this is, so I had to use some duckbill pliers that have a fulcrum on the other side of them, or a pair of towel nibblers. So, all right, that is freed up. Now, this is going to have to come off. You need a Phillips head screwdriver or just a Phillips head attachment for your screw gun. All right, we're going in. So once this is removed, you can see that just screws right out. I'm going to set my drill down. I'm going to go ahead and pull this cosmetic trim piece off. It's really cool how these things come apart. I am impressed for the first time in a long time. After 30 years of doing convertible tops, I am completely impressed with the way these tops are put together. Alright, now what you're going to be dealing with at this point is a cable that goes all the way around to the other side, and we'll get to that in just a second. But in the meantime, there are still some bells and whistles and fasteners I have to get to, this being one of them. This is a guide cable. Alright, and what you're going to do is you're going to pull that guide cable. I didn't tell you guys earlier, but the front part, and I'm going to call this the front part of your guide cable, actually just hooks onto this post right here. And I'm going to point it out here. You can't just barely see it, but it just, you know, you have to pry it off of that little hook right there. It looks like somebody just kind of like seated a pop rivet there and didn't seat it all the way. And then that guide cable actually goes through this little cut right here, right up through here, right up through there, just like that, and then connects to this portion right up here. Tell you what, let me just go ahead and put it on there and show you how it comes off. How about that? Alright, it's on. So if you can see that, you know, I'm not putting a whole lot of effort into taking this off or putting it on. You saw that, you know, just right there on camera, that the darn thing just came right off. And what I did is I just applied a little bit of upward leverage on it and just came away clean. Now on this side, we're just going to go ahead and pull it through, and you can see that it's going. I'm pulling it through. Kind of hard to do with one hand, so let me set the camera down. All right, now that entire guide cable is free. Leave it attached to the car. Just let it just drape down inside the car. All right, other side. By the way, this is the piece that I pulled out, and that's how long that screw is. Impressive, isn't it? Alright, here we are on the driver's side. Same thing. All the way out. Set your drill down in a place where it's not going to fall like it did on the other side. Pull that out. Now the only thing that sets this apart from the driver and passenger side is you. So what you're going to do is you're going to take these two pieces. Now I've got the passenger side in the bottom half of my hand and the driver's side and the top half of my hand. So we're going to walk around and get oriented. So that's the driver's side. Just poke that through and screw it down. Same thing with this side. Poke it through. Well, got 2 layers of cardboard going there. Alright, so you know what to do. We'll show you some more stuff in a minute. I mentioned before I had some towel nibblers, and I want to get this in the picture so that you know that this is the fulcrum, and this is the part I use to leverage things out. Once I have something caught up in the jaws, then I use this to rock it out. Watch. So we just get a little portion of it, and then we take and use that fulcrum right there and just gently work it out. This is going to make it a whole lot easier than just taking like a screwdriver or something like that and trying to muscle it out that way. I'm using the non-destructive approach because I think I may have a chance to go ahead and produce another top using my own sewing machine. And at some point I want to go ahead and see if I can explore making one of these with my own sewing machine. Even though these things are heat sealed from the factory, I've got a way to seal these things as well. It's not that advanced, but I'm pretty sure I can do it myself. Alright, let me dismount this off the top. I'm using Velcro to hold it on. So I want to point something out to you guys. This is a staple line. That staple line's got to come out. Alright, and it goes all the way across. You can't see them, but they're there. And the reason you can't see them because they're not all rusted up. Somebody had the forethought of using stainless steel staples. Not here. I don't know why they didn't there. That pop rivet comes out and these staples come out. Alright, and that will expose the inner workings of the headliner and all of its components. I should also mention that the headliner is something that's going to have to be installed first. And let me forewarn you, this is not for the faint of heart. If you don't have any experience, try and get some experience before tackling the Jaguar XJS. It is a complicated sequence. I've done this before, but I didn't take video footage of the last one that I did. And the reason I didn't is because, well, I didn't know that the information was so scarce on the internet. So here we are at the final portion just before the guide cable that goes along in here. And basically what you're going to have to do is finesse that out. It's got a set nut on both sides, and the guide cable actually goes through a hole, and you put the set nut on the outside and you use those two and you tighten them up evenly, a few turns on one side, then go back to the other side and turn a few turns on that side. I'll show you that. I'll also show you how to set the window in this thing, but we're going to take this off and we're going to do the window portion indoors. We're back, and from the inside there was some extensive damage that was done, and we don't see these things because they're underneath the headliner. Let me start first with this right here. This strap is supposed to come all the way up, but right now it's bound and tucked into something. But anyway, it ends up right up here. That's where it's supposed to live, just like that one over there. Alright, you'll notice when you take the original horsehair, oh, by the way, there's the horsehair. Anyway, let's bounce back to this for a second. There was a channel that everything, this gets threaded through the front lip portion of this right here, and it's all dissolved and tore up, but you can see that every once in a while there's a little hole or a knockout right there. Knockout, 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 and knockout. Okay, where do those go? That line right there, that cable goes through that channel, and everywhere there's a knockout is for these right here. Each one of them gets locked in, and then you bend these tabs back over. Now there's several ways you can do that, but don't bend them out too far. If you bend them out too far, you're going to put an enormous amount of stress on these, and they may break off. So be careful as to how far back you peel them, just enough to get that cable out of there. And you can drill out one side of the pop rivets that are holding it. The swage is still intact, the line is still intact, so we're happy and going to reuse this part right here only for this part right here. Now let's move back here. We talked about that one cable around the back side, and let's go down deep in here and show you where that is. Okay, it's a little blurry, so I'm gonna let the camera autofocus. Now just on the other side of this right here is a nut. Now you can see how far this is actually protruding through that. As we mentioned before, you tighten a little bit up on this side, and then you go to the other side over there on the other side and tighten up on that one, then come back here and tighten up on this one, tighten up the other side, tighten up this side, until you get to this point right here. And so what you do before you take this apart, I'm going to suggest that you get a Sharpie and that you put a mark right there, so that when you get done tightening, if you can see your Sharpie mark, then you've tightened it enough. And that's all I'm going to say on that. You don't have to worry about over tightening, under tightening. If you use that Sharpie and put a mark on there, then you're good to go. All right, rock and roll. So I've said down here you can cup like this and be safe, or you can go right up on it. I want to catch all these shavings because I really don't have time to vacuum. Low RPM, just go slowly. Okay, it's all the way through. Come back, shake your shavings off, and come back and get that back side, and then peel that off. And that's all you got to worry about. Now it's on to the staples. I think I might just go ahead and take these back out and do an upgrade on these as well. These are straps from the second to the third, fourth bow. Bow number 3, bow number 4, back there in the back. It goes through bow number 4 and then attaches way back here to the window. We'll get back to that in just a second. All right, you're probably asking yourself, well, how am I going to get the window out? Well, I'm going to show you. All right, so we're coming back up here to the front to address this situation. I wasn't happy with the 1/8 inch or 9/64 size pop rivets that are in here, so we're going to upgrade those to 3/16 rivets. I like the way the hats are. I like the way they are curved. I like the way they perform. They're a little bit stouter than these 1/8 inch or whatever they are, maybe 9/64. I'm not sure, but that side broke loose over there. Get a little bit closer, you can see how it broke loose. Obviously they're not strong enough. All right, or at some point in life of this vehicle's life, something happened and it broke away because of enormous stress on the convertible top here, or what have you. But at that point, after it broke loose, the top started misbehaving, and we don't need that, not on something as pretty as this. Okay, now I told you I would tell you about how to get these off, so we're going to address that now. Now, earlier on I told you that these straps really basically control the back window here, the height and elevation of where it should be. Okay, so if you can look down the way there, you can see that the window is further away from the back bow here, number 4. That's number 4. Okay, that the window is further away because that strap is relaxed and there's no tension on it. The top is completely closed, okay, almost, except for being latched. Let me take this and get it out of the way. All right, so I already told you I'm going to upgrade these, and we're going to do that. We're going to take these pop rivets out and we're going to let this relax, but we're not going to pull it through the 4th bow. That's not going to happen. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to go around here, because I've already got this one disconnected. Not because of anything I've done, but because it broke away. All right, that one's already disconnected, so there is some slack in it. All right, so you're going to come back around here to the reverse side. You're going to put your hand down here and you're going to force that through this way. You're going to take this carcass out in just a second because I need 2 hands. Hold on. That's a bone carcass, and it is designed to hold that in there. All right, it just sleeves up right through there, and it keeps it from pulling through this frame portion of the glass. Now, once that's out, leave it out, and then finesse this back through the other way. All right, let's start this back up. Okay, now a lot of fabrics have memory, and what was happening was this was bunching up. It was bunching up like that right there. Okay, and that's what was not allowing me to pull it back through. So what I did is I took it and I folded it up kind of right there and just kind of pinched everything together, and that gave us a bend in the opposite direction. All right, now that I've got my other camera hand over here, it doesn't want to cooperate. So anyway, get it folded over and just hold it there for a few seconds and watch this magic. Release it, guide it back down through there. You know, we was having trouble getting it out earlier. Now it's free. All right, it's crazy, but that's how it comes out. All right, so just let this dangle. Then you got 2 screws over here, same thing over there, and then you'll pull this back and guide this through that. Okay, and then you'll be able to release your headliner and be able to basically do what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to re-sew this. I'm going to sew down the existing line and re-sew everything on these, because I think these things can, you know, last a few more years. This is a garage kept. It wasn't before that, because you could tell that's all mold and mildew. So it wasn't garage kept before, and you couldn't see it because that's in the way. All right, so that's all mold and mildew. Been rained on a lot, left out in the weather to dry. So our current owner will be happy to know that, you know, since he keeps this in the garage, and I know he does because I've been told he does, so he'll be a lot happier knowing that these straps will be fortified with a new line of stitching. And believe me, I'm telling you right now, I'm going to have to sew everything on these so I can sleep good at night. Time for an update. Alright, if you'll notice, this is the secondary bow, and there are some bullet holes right here where 5 screws come out to release the inner bow for the headliner, which is right here. It's metallic. It only goes back a certain way. Tertiary bow, which is the 3rd bow. And then it exposes the screws back there in the back. Now, this video does have a light, so you can see that last one. Now let me point your attention to one more thing. If I can find it. I believe I've got them both. Alright, there is, back there in the back, a loop where this strap and its counterpart are fed through the headliner. They are joined together. A screw goes into them both at the same time, upwards, following my thumbnail's direction, upwards towards the sky, into this hole. Let me get in a little closer. This hole right here. Now, you know, you got the other bows, or the holes for the bow, the tertiary bow, but this one right here is specifically for this listing, for this strap, and it's going to go over that loop and then back down through the back side. Of course, you're going to have to use the old coat hanger thing to thread it through there, but you know, all you experienced guys out there will know definitely how to do this once you get to that stage. Now I'm going to remove those last screws back there, continue removing all my staples along the back side, and then we will continue. Over here on the passenger side, we're dealing with the tension cable and its stanchion and the tensioner. So just on the other side of this red stanchion, there is a nut. It is a 10mm nut. I told you about taking your Sharpie right here, going down inside here and make a mark at the end of the shaft of the exposed threads so that you know how far to tighten it. We've talked about that before earlier. So this is what you're going to have to do to take it apart at this point, so that all this right in here can be released. Okay, and this is the boy to do the job right here. This right here is a 10mm from Harbor Freight, adjustable or articulating socket side and open inside 10mm. No, it's not a 10mm, it's a 9mm. You use a 9mm to destroy your enemies. Okay, alright, but it really is a 10mm. You need to go to McDonald's and you need to get me a cheeseburger. Hurry, before it's too late. Hurry, do it now. Okay, first person view of the final process of releasing this. I've already got it apart over here, so we're just going to keep taking that guide cable out. You can see the guide cable's on the outside, just so you know. Some people like to take this and glue it inside there, but that's not really a good idea. Just finesse it and work it. All it is just a flange. See that flange right there? It gets tucked down inside there. You push that down inside there. That's what this is for. Alright guys, sorry about that. Even sometimes I get a little giddy and ahead of myself. So anyway, the glass comes all the way out and over, just like you see it here. Alright, we're going to use an Allen wrench to take these out. Please don't lose these right here. Those stanchions elevate this bell crank up off the glass frame, so don't lose them. There's 4 of them. Best thing to do is to take your hand, cup up underneath there, and let it fall into your hand, just like that. Alright, 2 screws, 2 spacers. Same thing on the other side. Last and final steps for the headliner. This is all held on by Velcro. You can tell because it's got a stitch line on there. So go ahead and start at the top. Work your way down. That will expose this. You're probably familiar with this system already because you've seen it in other places. Pull that out. That's the top one. To keep it from sinking down inside there. Pull the lower one out. Pull that one out. It should finesse out of there just like that. They're free, so you can take that and move that up to the top. We will not detach that. We will save it. We will reuse it. Now as far as this is concerned, this is an L shape, goes down and then across, and it's got a little keeper down there on the bottom. Looks like this right here, and the rod snaps into it. So it's a little U-shaped keeper. Grab that, get your thumb in behind there, and pull up a little bit. And then with this kind of motion, once you're up underneath it, rock like this and that'll disengage the first one. And on the secondary, it may not be so cooperative, so that's why I had this tool right here out, so that you can get up underneath there. Now watch this. German engineering. Just let that slide up. Finesse that off. Oh, give me just a second. Here we go. Now it's starting to come off. So just gather and pull. Same thing. Gather and pull, and all that will come off in just 1 second here. Had to get it past that last little part there. So that's what the L shape looks like. It's a little rod. It connects and fastens down to that little fastener right there. Okay, just pops it right out.